Hey, so I sculpted this crazy alien in ZBrush as a high-res Dynamesh. One of the questions that I received in the past recently is to show how do I take a high-res Dynamesh and turn it into something with a decent topology. How would you do that in ZBrush? Let's take a look. All right, so this guy is almost a million points. If I turn on my polyframe, you can see that it's just one dense model, right? So instead of just simply going to geometry and clicking zRemesher, one of the things that I would suggest doing is definitely breaking something like this into separate polygroups or different sections. And that will create or guide the topology of the zRemesher to be much more precise and a lot more helpful. So let's do that now. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to leave my polyframe on. I'm going to press Control, go to my quick picks, and just select the mask lasso, for example. All right, my active symmetry is on. And let's say I want to divide this guy into pieces. So the first thing I would do in something like this is definitely separate maybe his ear. So I'm going to press Control, literally just mask out this entire ear right here. And then I'm just going to press Control W to turn it into a different polygroup. Honestly, I would probably even go as far as pressing Control, switching it from lasso to pen, and probably also maybe masking out the inside of the ear, maybe all of this right here. If you press Control and Alt, of course, you can subtract from your mask if you're brand new to ZBrush. Keep that in mind, that's important. And once I mask out the inside, I can go back to polyframe, and let me do Control W again, and now take a look. Now I have the ear broken into two different pieces, right? Or islands, polygroup islands. I have the inner part of the ear, and I have the outer one. Maybe I can come in the side view. I'm going to jump out of the perspective view, and maybe I want to break up the neck into something separate as well. When it comes to head, let me do Control, Shift, and click to hide everything else and take a look and see what I have left. Maybe for the lips, I can do the same. I'm going to press Control, just separate the lips alone right here. Do Control W. Let me do the eyes. I'm fine with this. You can do more if you want, but just for the sake of this example, I'm going to leave this alone. Control, Shift, and click to bring everything back, and take a look. Now my character is broken into different pieces or groups. Now what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to go into zRemesher. In here, I'm going to leave Adapt on. I'm going to say keep groups, obviously, because we just did all this work with the groups. I'm going to leave the target on 5. All right, and I'm going to leave active symmetry on because this guy is symmetrical. So I'm just going to simply click zRemesher. All right, and here's what I'm given. I just went from almost a million to 15,000, which is much, much better. Of course, if this was a game model, maybe this is still too dense. I could say half and say zRemesher again. And if I wanted to, I can jump out of the adapt to keep the topology even lower. Let's go ahead and click zRemesher. All right, so this is looking pretty cool. If I wanted to, I can even individually do more. For example, what I could do is I can hold on Control, Shift, and click, and maybe just isolate the eyes and do zRemesher again using half, and take a look. Now I drop the eyes even more, right? So because these are separate polygroups, I can literally individually control them and address them or target them as well. So keep that in mind. It helps if they are separate meshes, if they're not part of the same mesh, because then you might get issues connecting. But if something is separate, you can literally dial it even though it's in the same layer. All right, and the cool thing about this is that now you have this low poly topology, which you can bring into Substance Painter. Of course, you need to do UVs, but then if you bake this with the high resolution model, you will have all the detail carried over to the normal map or displacement map or anything else you like. So very easy and simple to do it in ZBrush.